What's up, world?
I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
They
Insert here.
Yo.
It's a terrible game. Bottom line. It's terrible in every way. Graphically, it's terrible. Gameplay is terrible. It's just terrible.
Angry Nick mad.
That game sucked, and it's gonna suck no matter how many revisions they make, and it just sucked even more because they put a Kinect with it.
Angry Nick mad. Or if there's violence, I'll just laugh and enjoy the fun.
Kaz Hazari.
Kaz Harai.
They just kind of got tired of Angry Nick on the first one and say, I'm going to pass.
Oh, yeah, so I do.
It's me.
Precisely.
No.
I
No.
do all my work.
No.
And
You
unfortunately,
guys are
I
so
don't.
cute.
Oh, thank you. I try.
I mean, let's face it, Mario and to a lesser extent Zelda is what carries Nintendo at this point.
Always be radical.
I love you, little podcast. You're the bestest thing ever.
For the promise of the new Super Smash Bros. And the Zelda game, yes.
You will not find a better story presented in any other game genre, in my personal opinion. Like, JRPGs have that. They have that story.
That's what the entire game felt like. Oh my god, I want to bang my head into a wall.
It's a podcast again? Can someone remind me? I thought it was a video game podcast.
You're listening to the Game Source Podcast.
We're now live. That's right. Hey again, it's Gerald. Better known as Yes Elvis Lives. I'm here today with OSU Water Polo and our awesome friend of the show and great guest himself, the man, the myth, the legend, guy who we've interviewed before, and we will interview sometime again in the near future about his great projects, including Nintendo Quest, Missing Mom, and also the upcoming Kitty documentary, which I know he's going to be dealing with very soon as well. He is Rob McCallum.
Wow, that introduction, as usual, too good for maybe the content to follow, but I will try to keep up my end of the bargain here. Thanks, guys, for having me again.
Well, we appreciate it. And the ever-positive Aaron, how are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
Spiffy, as always. I'm looking forward to the end of the month when Nintendo Quest really starts generating, as far as it's concerned, the momentum and going to all the shows, all the debuts, all the screenings. Rob, before we delve into Game Source Podcast 121, please let us know and let everybody out there know what they can do as far as being able to catch one of those great upcoming screenings.
Absolutely. Well, for everybody that doesn't know about Nintendo Quest in general, it's an upcoming, unofficial, unauthorized Nintendo documentary that is starting to hit a theatrical window, and it focuses on a fanatic collector, Jay Bartlett, who crisscrosses across the North American continent in search of all 678 original NTSC retail NES games. But there's a catch. He only has 30 days, has to use his own money, and he can't use the internet in any way. Jay happens to be my best friend, and I get to document his entire journey as well as other icons and legends of the industry about what made the NES and Nintendo such an iconic release to begin with and why it's still popular 30 years later, and clearly it is, otherwise a guy like Jay wouldn't be collecting all these Nintendo tapes, as some folks call them. And the screenings start at the end of this month, as you mentioned. If you are interested in attending a Nintendo Quest screening, just go to nintendoquest.com, click the screening section, you'll see everything that we have in the works, and we're happy to say that we have partnered with Tug, so in the coming weeks you'll be able to request a screening of Nintendo Quest in your hometown, and that screening will go live when X number of tickets pre-sell. The film will play there, and it'll be a nice family community event that isn't necessarily part of the Power Tour, but at least we can deliver it to you in your hometown. So if you're in Philadelphia, Denver, Miami, wherever you want, somewhere outside the designated stops of the Power Tour, that is your chance to see Nintendo Quest in your town. NintendoQuest.com, all your details and info.
So in other words, you're going to say you're just going to be an additional, even more a vagabond, traveling from city to city.
I do not know what the meaning of home is. I do not have a place to call my own for the next 3 months. I will live out a suitcase. The cameras will be rolling. And that's the other cool thing about the screenings we got in the works. The cameras will be rolling, and we will compile all this stuff for the Power Tour. That's the rolling out a theatrical version, taking the band back on the road, if you will. in the coming months after we're done the theatrical window. And I guess the other big news that, Gerald, that you know, and Aaron as well, we have a distribution deal that we can kind of announce. We've partnered with somebody. The details are still being worked out, and what the exact strategy is, more will come with that in the coming weeks. But it's taking it to the next step beyond our initial plans of just an iTunes, Netflix, digital, what they call VOD or video on demand release. It's going to go much bigger with the distributor that we have on board now, and it's on an international level. So literally the four corners of the globe will have a chance to see Nintendo Quest.
Oh, that's awesome, awesome. So everyone, you don't have an excuse anymore. You will be able to get to see one of the best documentaries ever made about the world of gaming, in my humble opinion. And also, I'm sure a lot of you out there as well. You just give it a chance. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it. And if you have a chance to go ahead and make that happen for a Nintendo Quest screening in your area, please, you should do that. Based off the partnership with Tug, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, that's right. They covered 90% of the U.S. They don't have a deal in Canada. I know the film originated there, and we have a lot of backers there. We are looking to explore other ways of screening it there. Right now, the U.S., though, that's what we're dealing with, and that's honestly where most of the requests have been. So we're happy to at least appease that vocal fan base.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. And well, let's
dive in. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I've had 3 pots of coffee. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's do it. And I'm telling you, I'm so excited as well because we are right around the corner from E3. E3 is something that I've been a part of on a few occasions. We are sending Chris down there live to be part of the events, and hopefully he won't get lost. Once again, it's our 6th year of covering it, so we truly feel blessed and appreciative of doing that. But before we get into the E3 particulars, there are some news items and also some great subjects we want to talk about first. As part of the Game Source Podcast number 121. First off, what we got, Fallout 4. And I know this was a big deal for a lot of people out there that Bethesda did officially finally announce something that many people already knew about, and that was the video release of the trailer, the teaser trailer for Fallout 4, which is set, by all intents and purposes, it looks like to be set in Boston. So my question, guys out there, who's excited for Fallout 4 between you guys? And did you guys get a chance to check out the teaser trailer that was meant for PS4, Xbox One, and PC later this year?
Aaron, I'll let you dive in first on this because I definitely have some thoughts.
Fallout I know it's an RPG, and everybody expects me to do the RPG. One of those I could never get into, so it was like, yay, they announced it, and that was it for me.
This is what excites me, Aaron, because you're already on the far end of the spectrum from me. I have never played a Fallout game. Jay, who of course is the star of Nintendo Quest, is a Fallout fanatic. He is a massive Fallout 3 fan. We all know what happened with Fallout New Vegas. There were severe glitches. Of course, that game, I believe, was developed by Obsidian and not Bethesda. So when Fallout 4 announced and the teaser trailer was in the works and floating around that it's going to happen, it's going to launch on social media, I started to get excited. Fallout 3, for whatever reason, fell through the cracks for me. It was just in that weird window of where I was doing some other film stuff. This had hit. I didn't know too much about it. It was a bit of a sleeper thing for me. But after talking to Jay, after researching what Fallout has become, and because it's like a first-person RPG, everything essentially that I wanted Destiny to be, I'm really looking forward to Fallout 4, and I will be picking up Fallout 3, the Game of the Year edition, in anticipation.
Well, and that's a great cheap shot at Destiny there, as far as it's concerned. I am more personally of an Elder Scrolls individual, even though they both literally will have the same engine and utilize the same engine and often share the same amount of bugs. And with Elder Scrolls Online hitting consoles, hopefully I get a chance to test that out real soon as well. But Fallout 4, with the VAT system and all that, I did get a chance to play the previous Fallout 3, but I could really never sink my teeth into it before. I'm hoping now that it's on a new gen system that it will be able to be something more that I don't know. It sold very well. obviously the series is very big to the Bethesda library, and so I like you said, Rob, I'm like you that really wants to get into it, but has had that for other reasons and whatnot have not really dipped both toes in the water, so to speak, for any length of time. I'm hoping for better. I'm hoping for a better opportunity this time around, and I really just hope that it looks a little bit better than what the presentation showed on the teaser trailer, because I know a lot of people were upset regarding the character models. Did you get a chance to see those character models in detail?
I really like the trailer that they launched and what they've done with that. My hopes, and maybe this is going a little off script from your question, is that because you're an Elder Scrolls fan, another series that I haven't played, but I've been told that it is quintessential McCallum, since those are the kind of games I like. So I don't know why I'm not the biggest Bethesda fanboy out there yet. It's just I know I'm going to discover it like 10 years late to the game, and I'm going to be raving about something that everybody already knows. I'm hoping that the jump for Fallout 3 to Fallout 4 is equivalent to Oblivion to Skyrim. Because I hear there was a massive leap between the two, and again, I've asked people, well, what should I start with? Should I just start with Skyrim or Oblivion? It's like, no, just play Skyrim. You'll enjoy that much more. So I'm hoping that there's a similar translation that they've learned, that they want to incorporate different things. And based on the trailer, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. And for me, it's not about the visuals either. I mean, haven't we got to the point that it's more about the gameplay, the story, and everything else? Yeah, it's great if it's at 1080p 60, and anybody that listens to my podcast, GamerCast, we go on about the tech specs, and yeah, it's great if you can check that box off, but it is the least thing that's going to determine if the game is going to stick around. I mean, look at the visuals of World of Warcraft. It's great that it runs smooth, but that's not like photorealism or anything like that, and yet the game is still immensely popular. So as long as the gameplay works, the controls are solid, and you know what it is, that's all that matters.
Absolutely, and you're right, absolutely right. The gameplay experience is what counts for many, but I noticed a lot of people were upset because it looks so similar in detail as Fallout 3, which came out many years ago. I believe 2009, I want to say 8 or 9. Is that right, Aaron?
What is this prerequisite that things just have to keep getting better and better on a technical level? Wouldn't it be enough that the story keeps going? People want sequels, people want the next thing, but now there's caveats and prerequisites to getting the next thing? Fallout 3, from all my understanding, was a game of the year, and it revolutionized the entire franchise, enough to spawn New Vegas into a multi-million selling title as well, with all its bugs. So why not just give us Fallout 3, a better story? If it's a little glossier, great. But give us something that works, that ships well, that doesn't need a patch, that can engross people. I don't want to have new graphics for it to be a better game. That's the least of my concerns.
Yeah, well, and that's true. And that's true. Like I said, when all depends, when it all comes down to it, gameplay is the most important aspect, and to a lot of people, since it did sell very well in its previous iteration, that even if it's just the same thing on a new gen console or slightly better than that, it's still very much considered a must-play game this holiday season, and truly something definitely to look forward to on that end. Also, a game come up as far as this holiday season is concerned that I know I'm looking forward to, even though I've already gone through the library, and I know, Aaron, you have not. But the Uncharted collection, the Nathan Drake collection, is available on the PS4, and it will be available this October as far as a remastering of all 3 Uncharted iterations, and including the Uncharted 4 beta will be included with that. Is this something that garners any interest from you, Rob, on any sense? I know, Aaron, we've already talked about Uncharted at length, and I know you're not the greatest fan of it, even though Uncharted 4 did pique your interest a little bit when we were at PlayStation Experience.
The glitch piqued my interest.
It did.
The glitch, not the game.
No, I think you thought it looked good. I remember you caught your eye a little bit, but
no.
Have you delved into the Uncharted series at all, Rob?
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of the Uncharted series. I haven't played the first one. I do own it. I started with the second and then played the third. It's not without its flaws. There are some control mechanics that I'm not a huge fan of, some aiming situations, some run and gun scenarios that it feels a little set up at times. Like you can tell when you wander into an area and there's certain cover spots, like, okay, this is going to be a massive firefight. It's the same problems I had with Last of Us, where you would get to a certain part in those games and you know that something's about to happen and it pulls you out of it because now you're playing a game and not really participating in a story. That said, I'm really excited for the Nathan Drake collection to come out. It gives me a reason to go back to play 2 or 3. It gives me a reason to play the first one. Do we know if the Vita game, which I believe is a standalone story, is part of that?
No, it is not part of it. Golden Abyss. Oh, hey, Nick. Angry Nick has finally joined the podcast. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Rob?
Not bad, man. I love the enthusiasm. You got so much energy going. Come on. Let's take it up to 10, Nick. Let's go.
It's been one of those days today.
I got you. Well, let's turn that around with some game talk.
That's true, and I appreciate it, Rob. Uncharted, as far as it's concerned, is not going to include Golden Abyss. It is listed on the package from the Amazon listing as having just the 3 and also the teaser trailer that came out for it. Unfortunately, maybe that's something like ODST that is being added to the Master Chief Collection and hopefully Reach. Maybe that's something that will be added at some point in time because I think it could hold up very well onto if it was bumped up to a PS4 format. But it is just, all 3 games are still going to be, revved up, ready to go. Hopefully, like you said, the somewhat cumbersome controls of the first game will hopefully be eliminated, and hopefully we can throw a grenade in a correct fashion this time.
Sure. Here's the question for you, Gerald, and maybe Aaron or Nick know as well. Is this being sold as a trilogy? Are they going to release them standalone as well? Do we know the price point on it? Is it $60 for all 3? Is it going to be like $100? Like, what are we dealing with there?
It is $60 for all 3. I've actually considered pre-ordering it already because off the PlayStation Network store. It is just 3. All 3, they're not standalone, sold as a package, $60.
Are we looking at a collector's edition as well, and does it come with a cool statue of Drake, or is it just the games?
It's just the games. It's being developed by Blue Point. They're the ones that are doing the port. It's not being done by Naughty Dog. It's being done, obviously, with Naughty Dog's final okay and
Sure,
blessing.
but this is just like Last of Us, though. I believe it was the same company that remastered Last of Us under the supervision of Naughty Dog.
Yes. They're one of those studios that's now more known for doing ports and handling ports. And right now, obviously, the market is very good for them because there's so many games out there that are being bumped up into a next gen format. I'm still crossing my fingers on a Mass Effect series being moved up, but hopefully that will be announced. Oh, and Josh Peterson is here, one of our newest staff members. How are you, Josh?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're on the line today with Aaron, OSU Water Polo, Angry Nick, and also as well the director of Nintendo Quest, Rob McCallum. This is Josh, everyone.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay, Josh.
Yes, Josh! Welcome to the party!
All right. Well, it's great to have everyone here again. We're discussing Uncharted PS4 and the interest. I know Nick, well, you couldn't really tell by his enthusiasm, but Uncharted is a game near and dear to his heart from my years of knowing him, unfortunately. But as much a great a series as that game is, as you can see, he's right behind me, so you know how much I love it. Nick, what are your thoughts on Uncharted as far as coming to the PS4?
Well, I mean, I'm as excited as most anyone. I mean,
I can tell.
Yeah, looking at based on my experience with watching the gameplay trailers and even my experience with inevitably seeing it at the presented at E3, which of course was the most exciting component at the end of the conference and probably one of the best ways they could have wrapped it up. So I'm excited for it. I mean, I know that Gerald had as part of tonight's topic had kind of prefaced it by saying that is it in essence going to be like The Last of Us was an absolutely phenomenal game, and I was even the remastered edition is something I'd be excited one day to be able to pick up on the PlayStation 4. So in terms of being able to have like a title like Uncharted 4, being able to hit platform finally, on the PlayStation 4, and being able to really see, an already great game with an absolutely phenomenal storyline to be able to hit a platform that can really utilize its game engine to bring even more. To bring even more great gaming elements that have already existed historically in the Uncharted series. So, I'm really excited for it. I can't wait for it to come out. Can't wait to play it. I was half tempted to actually pre-order it on Amazon yesterday night. So, that is definitely a title, regardless of what the budget's looking like towards the end of the year. It's definitely a title that I'm looking at picking up. So.
Hey Josh, welcome aboard again. Appreciate you being on with us. Your thoughts on Nathan Drake coming as far as to the PS4, and as we know, this is hopefully a great way for people to get introduced, audiences unfamiliar with the series, to Uncharted before Uncharted 4 comes out. But what are your thoughts on Uncharted to come into PlayStation 4? Something you're interested in?
Yeah, actually, I played the first 3 on PlayStation 3, but sadly I do not have a PlayStation 4, so I might have to invest when the game comes out. But what I always loved about those games, you don't really notice how long they are. They are really frustrating at parts, but it's like playing through a movie. That's what I love about it, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to it. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to cost me a little money to buy a PlayStation when it comes out, but I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite games.
Well, hopefully also as well they'll bundle it, similar to what the Master Chief Collection is now bundled with an Xbox One. Hopefully they'll do the same for the Uncharted Collection. So at least things are looking okay for the PlayStation come the holiday season with that, titles like No Man's Sky and what have you. I know a lot of titles that they were hoping to be successful didn't materialize for them for the holiday season, but they at least they stand a little bit better chance of prospering later this year. Well, and as far as speaking of prospering later this year, what we have on next in tap, as far as is concerned, we're going to go as far as, well, and I'm looking down in our list of what we were supposed to talk about today. The next thing I have is Splatoon. Splatoon is the major release for the Wii U, at least of this first part of the year. And Rob, I know you've had a great chance to have a lot of time under the hood with Splatoon. I know the feedback is strong. I know the feedback is good for it. But the bigger question, Rob, do you think it's something that the Nintendo and the Wii U can support itself as far as being something that might be even a console mover by this holiday season?
Well, with Nintendo and the Wii U, you're only going to get 2 or 3 games per year from Nintendo, and we know that they don't have a lot of third-party support. But every game that Nintendo releases so far for the Wii U that they at least have their hands in has done incredibly well, and they're always good games. Just my opinion. Splatoon is another example of them going after the multiplayer strategy. We saw this implemented with Mario Kart and then followed up by Smash Brothers. 2 games that moved a lot of Wii U consoles because it encouraged a lot of replayability with friends and DLC. I mean, look at the Mario Kart DLC. How could you not afford to essentially double the tracks and characters with that? And now with all the Smash Brothers DLC characters, vote a character in. Nintendo knows finally what they're doing and how to reach their core audience, even if it is with a limited amount of releases. For Splatoon, I think it's another good step, and it's another good addition to an already awesome roster that Nintendo's released. I don't think it's the big splash out of nowhere. It's a new IP, and I think it's a great job by them. It is a lot of fun, but it's not as deep as I would like to see the game. The first-player stuff feels like a really tacked on, let's hope that we can give the player something to do should the network go down. I've had a lot of network issues, everything from paint not appearing to being kicked out of matches to connections being lost to lobbying not syncing up. And we're talking like 1 out of every 5 matches from the people that I've talked to. This is abnormally irregular, and their experiences do not mirror the amount that I've had problems with the game. What I'm surprised Nintendo didn't do, especially given that's a new IP, is actually name characters in this game. They give you boy or girl Squid or Inkling. Why wouldn't they name a character and start a brand based on that? That's like super interesting to me, especially when they released amiibos for both these characters. They could have easily identified a character and spun it off into a solo adventure down the road, or at least DLC that would have supported that. I think Splatoon's a great addition. It's a lot of fun. It reminds me of Conker's multiplayer back for the N64, where you would battle the teddies, and it'd basically be quick one-on-one matches where you'd basically attack one another. I think everybody that has a Wii U should pick it up. I think if you're looking for that extra reason to get a Wii U on top of Mario Kart and Smash, you've got to do this. Again, just another great addition to what's already out there for the Wii U.
Well, and that's what I wanted to know. I mean, like I said, a lot of good feedback. Is the party chat not being there, is the communication between your team chat as far as I'm concerned not being there, is that too much of a hurdle for some to overcome as far as playing the game?
To be honest, I've never played with any of my friends. I've only played with random people, and it's because the game is so simple. You know what you got to do. There isn't enough space on the existing maps to really have to coordinate too much. It's so intuitive in how you approach each level, and every level is different. You've got to pick different weapons and strategy for the levels that are there. For those that don't know, they basically rotate 2 levels for regular battles and 2 levels for ranked battles, and they switch. I think it's every 8 hours or so. So you know what you got to prepare for, and the strategy is pretty straightforward in those situations. So the team chat thing, I don't think being gone hurts it, but I think it would help it. But it just works the way it is. It just works really intuitively without dragging it down any more necessary. They have other issues other than team chat that they could add to the game that would improve it leaps and bounds over that one feature. Like adding bots, for example. I think bots would be a great way to play.
I think that on the team chat thing, it's one of those things that when you come from other games that you expect it to be there, but I think the game actually plays better without it. That's also one of the big reasons I'm liking Heroes of the Storm over League of Legends or Dota is that you just go and you do it, and there is no, oh my god, you need to quit dying, you suck. You know, there's no trolling each other. It's just going out and having fun like you did when we were kids, and not all this pressure to be a fake video game pro when you're in Bronze League. You know, it's just, it's fun, and that's what
it's
Nintendo's
highly competitive,
good at.
but it's fun. You're right. It's highly competitive. Make no mistake. It's like Mario Kart. You will get angry at your friends in Smash Brothers, but you don't have that level and that air of professionalism that like, oh, you're not good enough to play this. Like it's very like it's cool. You know, it's cool if you suck. You'll figure it out. And every level you got to figure out who you're playing with anyways, and you kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, and I mean, most of my friends who I would play with, I have them on Skype, and we are on our computers on Skype, even if we're on Xbox Live or the PlayStation Network. With voice chat there, we still do it over Skype because it is so much better than anything in-game. So if I want to talk to my friends, I'm going to talk to my friends over Skype while doing it. I don't want to do it in-game. I don't want to hear the random 12-year-old, you know, calling me son and all this other crap that happens in on Xbox Live. And I think it's people who are just anti-Nintendo that are really harping on that one point of voice chat. Yeah, and then you hear his mom in the background. Have you done your homework yet? It's bedtime.
Junior!
Time for dinner, Timmy!
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be nice to have it in the game. I just don't think it is as necessary as many of the people have said.
It's a 3-minute pick up and go battle. It's not an hour-long campaign where you have it's 3 minutes and you're always against different opponents. It's usually a different level every other time. It's run and gun. It's 3 minutes. Like, how are you going to strategize in 3 minutes because you're throwing in there and then you realize what works or what doesn't work? Like, it's just too fast and fun.
Now, might I say this? If it gets more integrated within, let's say, the MLG or competition scheme, would you see that implemented just for that reason?
Well, the ranked battles has like capture the flag, kind of, you know, protect the zone stuff. So there is a little bit more approach to it rather than just paint the crap out of whatever stage you're in. So, and that's where a lot of people will jump in saying, well, you know, maybe you should be able to kind of chat with this. But in the current format, it's just working the way it is until the game gets deeper, and maybe they'll expand the matches to like, you know, when they do custom matches. and you can add bots, that's when it's going to get really interesting, and that's when I think team support could have a lot of fun. Like a 10-minute match with bots, almost like Perfect Dark did. And, oh my goodness, bring in stat tracking. How do you not have stat tracking?
Give Nintendo some time. This is a big step for them as far as doing something at this level for them as far as that type of, even close to that type of genre. So getting the particulars all out, I sense that Splatoon, as it evolves, will probably add those features and become more of a natural for them, because something that we would not even think about if you're playing Call of Duty or if you're playing Battlefield or if you're playing pretty much any other FPS is somewhat new to the concept, probably maybe of the game designers for Nintendo when they're making that type of arena game, so to speak. So, well, so to speak as well, going a little bit, deviating a little bit from the game field, we want to go ahead and touch on something that's also near and dear to our hearts, and that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Are we jumping ahead? Because
Okay.
I think you're going off script here, Gerald. What's going on here? We had one topic there.
Did I go off topic?
We skipped Aaron's core. Aaron is around for one subject, and you just wrote him off.
It happens every time.
I like to write him off every time, anyways. So, but anyways,
and then he wonders
JRPGs.
why.
You're
I have so much
right.
fun on these.
Whatever you want to talk about, it's your show. I get it. Aaron's
no worries. No, Rob, you're absolutely correct. Because then I'll never hear the end of it from Aaron, and then he'll hit me in person later this month when we're all together to do an open podcast just before the screening, which we'll talk about again at the end of the show. That would be JRPGs, and Aaron. Well, he's the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to JRPGs for us here at GameSource. And the reason why we say that is because he usually gets a lot of access to, or attempts to get a lot of access to, and plays a lot of JRPGs, whether it's on mobile, whether it's on tablet, whether it's on a console. It doesn't matter. JRPGs, he's truly interested. And one thing I've noticed as of late, when both Nick, Aaron, and I are trying to get JRPG as far as review codes and things of that nature and trying to deal with the various public relations companies, is that there's a lot of JRPGs still coming out, but they're all coming out still on the PS3 and Vita formats, primarily. They've pretty much abandoned the Xbox. They abandoned the Xbox 360, a long time ago.
They abandoned the Xbox in 2001. Let's not kid ourselves.
Well, but the Xbox 360 and then the Xbox 360 they abandoned long time ago as well. The Xbox
Tales of
One,
Vesperia. At least Tales of Vesperia is a standalone exclusive on the 360.
Only in America. It came out in the PS3 in both Europe and Japan.
Sure.
So only here did we get screwed over and have to buy.
That's the only reason I have a 360 for the record. I bought a 360 just for that game.
What about Blue Dragon?
Garbage.
It's not Final Fantasy.
There you go. But what I wanted to ask was the traditional JRPGs. That's not Final Fantasy per se, because Josh, your thoughts on Final Fantasy are probably like many others that it is the what people think about when it comes to JRPGs. Am I not correct?
Yes.
See, to me, it's not even a JRPG anymore.
I concur.
But to Josh or myself or some Nick or someone else, it still is thought of as a JRPG. So what I'm going to ask you guys today is, can the traditional JRPG, the title that comes out with 10 different names when it comes over in the West Coast, to the West, the ones with the nonsensical wording and verbiage, are still coming only to the PS3 and the Vita, but can they evolve and can they thrive onto a new format on the next
There's
gen
a lot
format?
on the 3DS too. Let's not.
That's the first thing I was going to say. With Bravely Second being announced as a huge follow-up to Bravely Default.
But that's not a next gen. That's not the
3DS.
PS4.
3DS is a current gen console. It has as much of the marketplace as the big three sit-down living room that do. I mean,
If
let's
not
look at
more.
ourselves. Yeah, exactly. So it definitely deserves its place in this conversation.
Would you consider Xenoblade Chronicles X? a traditional JRPG, or would you consider that evolving into something different? That's something
That's
to.
like on the
It's like
verge
a
of being
hybrid. Yeah.
yeah. It's like Mass Effect. It's not an RPG. It's a shooter with RPG elements. Xenoblade is on the verge of not being an RPG and being an RPG, depending on who you are. I mean, if you're an RPG fan, it's not an RPG. If you're somebody who doesn't normally play RPGs, then yeah, it's probably the most RPG you're gonna get. But to me, it is not a JRPG. It's a very open world game with a lot of RPG elements. It's almost to me along the lines of something like Saints Row or Grand Theft Auto, that type of game where you go out and you do have to you can explore the world however you want. Yeah, there's a storyline you can follow, but it's not just one way through the story, and that's to me what a JRPG is you kind of get handheld the whole way.
Well, then let me ask Josh and Nick this. What was the last JRPG that you guys played? Well, I'll start with you, Josh. What was the last game that you played as far as that you thought was a true JRPG?
Oh, geez, I don't really I haven't played a lot of them. I played Final Fantasy, and I played a Xenoblade, but I can't remember which one it was. That's about as much as my experience with JRPGs goes.
And then Nick, what about you?
It's hard to say. I can't really recall. I mean, other than the Tales of series, I know that my last trip to E3, I had seen a couple of them that had kind of stuck out to me. None of which, unfortunately, I can recall off the top of my head. But in terms of playing them, I don't know. It's been a while since I have played them. I mean, regarding your remark earlier, I kind of have to concur with Rob and Aaron though. In terms of Final Fantasy, I don't know if historically that's ever really presented elements of a JRPG necessarily. I mean, at least from my playthrough experience, and that's if you reference to what they're typically what the game elements are presented in today with the way with their genre classification. I don't know if those were necessarily fall into that category, but to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. It's been a while since I've played one, so I don't know that I can really accurately answer that question. I know that. Go ahead.
We're gonna have to get you one of the Kemco games soon, then, Nick.
So, well, that leads me to my ultimate question: can the traditional JRPGs, that I've seen, that I've played, that Aaron and Rob obviously have played, can they succeed on a PS4 and an Xbox One? In the West?
Sure, of course they can. I mean, what we're really talking about is two different things. One, it's an economic thing. They jump in Japan first because that's the bread and butter market for JRPGs, and then they get translated after they're already hit there. And the problem is they're translating to the same hardware. They're being localized for a North American market, and because we're still overlapping and really still operating with two different generations, you're going to see them come out probably in the next year or so for our current gen stuff when the newer stuff is released in Japan first. So we're always going to be like 2 years behind. But what we're really talking about, I think, is something that's considered a niche genre now. Can it thrive during not a popular time for it? First-person shooters aren't as popular, I would say, as they used to be. Fighter games are not as popular as they used to be. Open-world 3D platformers are not as popular as they used to be. Everything is cyclical. It'll come back. JRPGs will find its stride again. It's just a matter of what game is going to bridge its hybrid qualities that take it to the next level and put it in the limelight for us to see a global release of something on par with Japan as it drops in North America as well.
Because there have been really, really great JRPGs that have been introduced and actually sold very strongly. I mean, you guys mentioned Bravely Default as far as this is concerned. That was a very strong. Ni no Kuni. There were several titles, and with Dragon Quest coming out very soon, the impetus is there. The platform is there for these titles to succeed. It's just a question on whether or not how strongly they'll be promoted on platforms they're not traditionally have not been on. and I know why that these games are still being marketed mainly when they come to the West for the PS3 and the Vita and the 3DS, 3DS XL and whatnot. Rob, you hit it on the head as well. But I wanted to see if this is something that's still, in the minds of gamers as far as is concerned. So,
I think
especially
the other thing too, if it's going to thrive, now is a great time to see if it will thrive on current stuff. With what I would say is still a pretty lackluster library when it comes to options. I mean, we just talked about the Nathan Drake collection getting remastered. Last of Us was remastered. It's great that we're getting all these remastered titles, but how about something new for us to play with instead of something old again?
That was
going to
be my point, is when we look back at the end of every generation, that's really where RPGs start to shine. Because RPG gamers tend to be a little more of the budget gamers. So they've waited for the system to have a price cut. They wait for the games to be, cheaper. And so, I mean, we saw it at the end of the PlayStation 2 era. Especially, you saw Odin Sphere, Grim Grimoire. I mean, there were a good 24 RPGs that came out after the PS3 launched on the PS2 that were considered, top 50 games for the system, because most of the time, once the new system hits, everybody wants the big, explosive game of the year game, and unfortunately, the programmers just aren't used to the code enough yet that we're really getting those amazing games. I mean, how many games have we seen on current gen consoles that are amazing? If you put out a big budget RPG and it isn't amazing, you're going to lose your shorts every time. So I think they're smarter putting them out on the 3DS and the PS3. And if they weren't being put out on the Vita would be dead. There's nothing but RPGs on the Vita at this point, pretty much. But it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense to put them on next-gen consoles yet. They're still killing it on the current-gen stuff. Axis and Atlas and some of those other companies that do the ports, they're porting games that were the middle of the PS3 life cycle, and we're getting them at the end of ours because it does take some translation and whatnot, like Rob said. But, that's also because the programmers now know what they're doing a lot better than, the people that made Destiny, and you can see where there are major flaws because they didn't understand the code and what they could do. And a lot of the current gen games feel like last gen games with slightly prettier graphics. They really aren't that improved.
Let's ask the other big question. Why do they have to be on a current gen console at this point when so many RPG fans, which I would say are savvy gamers, I mean, we all know the average age of a gamer is in his or her 30s, they're probably pretty savvy, and if they're into RPGs, they have one of the previous gens already, and they know what it's like, they know how it plays, and they know what to expect. Is it just a commercial opportunity that they need to exploit?
You're not going to get newer gamers unless they're on the newer consoles, though. That's the problem.
But again, how many new gamers do we know that are in their 30s? Who decides in their 30s that they're going to be a new gamer?
Yeah.
But to also
and you're not going to have a kid playing an RPG. They're not going to sit there and play 100 hours of a game with no boobs or guns.
And a kid is not going to digest anything with JRP sensibilities. Gross exaggeration, I know, but I just think JRPG is much more an adult content, and that's why it's niche to begin with.
And I agree on that, but Nick, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, but to tailor on to the rest of that though, why are you going to make a game such as The Last of Us remastered? You throw some DLC, you improve the graphics, so you're just rehashing, like Aaron said, a last gen onto a new gen. I mean, what instead of all the production time that went into just re-render a game and throw on DLC that you could have just purchased on the last gen system, why don't you guys just invest into The Last of Us 2 or into additional DLC?
Well, I just think we see why those remasters are being made. I know during the previous life cycle in the 360 and PS3, all these developers were screaming about the free backwards compatibility of many a title, and that they were screaming about people buying used games. Well, now they have their opportunity in this generation to not have to worry about people buying used games because they're now paying, making people pay for backwards compatibility, and seeing in some cases, not all, some cases that really these remasters are really becoming short-term windfalls. Last of Us is one of the most primary examples. Also, as well, the Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider was not, in Square Enix's eyes, a profitable game until it was remastered onto the next-gen systems and sold 1 million plus copies on there. So that's that. Sometimes for an ultra project, it may be the ultimate decision and the ultimate barometer between
Sure,
a
and I
profitable
will.
venture or. Oh,
And
go ahead.
I'll say to tap onto that, I didn't play Last of Us until it was remastered because I didn't have anything to play on my PS4, and I didn't have any time to play anything else when it first hit. So that coincided with a nice window of gameplay opportunity for me that I had a chance to play something. I wanted to see what it was like, and there was my chance to play it on next gen. I really didn't care that it was remastered or re-res, but it was a new release, and I could play it on my shiny new hardware.
Well, I will say this, and then we'll go ahead back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I know Josh primarily is really itching to get that because he's such a Marvel fan. So am I, actually. Is that if you
So are
do
your
have,
kids.
if you, they're more than I am, but if you tell anybody out there, if anybody asks out there what they need to get for JRPGs, you can get a PS3, you can get a 3DS XL, but the game system I would recommend, not even an Android tablet or iPhone or what have you, right here. I understand that according to Sony, this might be now a thing of the past, but I'm
But the
telling
ones
you,
on that system are nowhere near the quality of the ones on the 3DS.
I
Yes,
disagree.
Freedom Wars is
it's
amazing.
really-
But beyond Freedom Wars, most of the Vita games are Akiba
Garbage?
Strip,
Yeah.
Criminal Girls,
Well, guys, regardless of opinion,
Travelers
Gerald,
2.
the one thing, Gerald, you got to say, if you're gonna get it on Vita, you should get PlayStation TV then too, right? So you can play it on
It's
your
$40
big
bucks
screen.
at Best Buy. Get the PlayStation TV. Don't even pick up the Vita hardware.
That's even better. That's even better. But the
That's what I
remote play
did.
option is kind of cool too, as far as it's concerned. If you utilize that option and you have a PS4.
Sure.
But
Sony probably just needs to stop making mobile devices. Mobile gaming consoles are
Clearly
not
don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Such love for the Vita.
Some would
Anyways,
say the same about Nintendo home consoles, yet they're gonna be here for a while.
you know what? Nintendo is finally making a profit. So I bashed them for years, the past couple years, because they did not make the moves that I felt they needed to make as a company. You know what? They're making a profit now, and I'm going to be the first one to pat them on the back for it because they deserve it. You know, they're starting to make the right decisions now about moving into a mobile base. As far as the concerned, where everything they're doing is a little bit more calculated than some, including me, would have liked. But they are headed in the right direction. The NX is coming, may have been announced too early, which might be the undoing of the Wii U ultimately, because people may start looking towards that instead of wanting to buy a Wii U. But ultimately, like I said, they are making a profit, and they do need to be commended for what they're doing right now. So the new 3DS XL launch aside, I know some people had issues with that. They're making a profit, and you know what?
Flying off the shelf despite that launch. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you and I had issues, and we were going back and forth about how it was structured. But you know what? More power to them. And the amiibos are just skyrocketing. It was obviously a brilliant plan, and we'll go from there. But that's another issue. Or they can actually listen to your podcast, Rob, as far as more on the amiibos, or head down to Retro City Games here in Las Vegas for the amiibo contest. Isn't that right?
That's right. Retro City Games is holding an amiibo contest. It's a little too late to submit your amiibo, but if you go to Retro City Games Facebook, look for their obviously Las Vegas location, you can vote on which amiibos you think are the coolest. So I suggest the Darkwing Duck one. No pressure.
We're not going to mention who made that one, Rob.
It may have been me. And of course, we talk a lot about Amiibos on GamerCast, which is available on Podomatic and iTunes. So.
Fair enough.
But you wanted to talk about a big movie that is coming out with a small hero, I believe.
Well, that's true, and from one filmmaker to obviously a filmmaking juggernaut, Marvel Studios is coming out next month with the highly anticipated, or is it Ant-Man, who's actually going to become a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Josh, I know superheroes is something you've written about extensively to several outlets as far as is concerned. And my question to you is, so I'm going to start off with you, Josh. Do you think Ant-Man is going to be something that's people are going to be interested in? And what does it need to do to be considered, not an afterthought in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, when I first heard that it was Scott Lang, a lot of people don't know who Scott Lang is. He kind of appears in the comic books in like the West Coast Avengers for a few issues, and then he disappears, and then it becomes like Jonah Hex. He'll just randomly show up in comic books for a couple pages, and they'll vanish for years.
But he is, correct me if I'm wrong, the second of the third in-line Ant-Man, correct?
Correct. Hank Pym is the original. And yeah, I mean, as long as I've been curious how they're going to tie it into the overall bigger picture with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know they're saying something about Hank Pym being one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I guess I don't know if you guys have read, but Scott Lang is going to appear in the Captain America 3. So I think what Marvel's trying to do is just try to build up their roster of heroes for when Infinity Gauntlet, the Avengers 3 comes out, and it'll be interesting.
Well, Josh, we both know that so many contracts of these actors behind the scenes are starting to fill up. Like Robert Downey Jr. only has so many left, and they need to transition into the second version of the Avengers. With Ant-Man, of course, being an Avenger in the books, this is a nice introduction to a character who may eventually join that team, and then in one of the bigger, like you're saying, Infinity Gauntlet versions. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
well,
okay. Confirmed. Thank you.
Because the Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity Wars 1 and 2 are going to be filmed similar to the way the Lord of the Rings movies were filmed back to back, and they're going to be launched in successive years. I believe 2018 and 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So that obviously to have that type of sheer mass production, they obviously need to introduce new characters. Rob, your opinion on what Ant-Man has to do to not become an afterthought per se. I obviously the contractual obligations of many of the stars aside, Ant-Man is something that not as many casual audience have understood or even thought of in that realm.
Sure,
so.
But Gerald, we visited this last summer with Guardians of the Galaxy, another nobody knew about them, and I mean they of course have been around for a long time, as is Ant-Man, but in terms of like the popular heroes, nobody knew about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I get a very similar marketing vibe when I see the Ant-Man trailer to Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, anybody that's been following Ant-Man knows that it's been in like production hell for the last 5 years. They've gone through director changes, script changes, and even Joss Whedon has come out to say that Edgar Wright, who of course directed Scott Pilgrim, his draft, it's a horrendous crime that it got thrown out for what they're using now. So it's really interesting to hear the director of the first two Avengers movies say that about a character who is going to be possibly part of the Avengers kind of going forward. I don't think Ant-Man has to do anything. I think very small expectations. It needs to be a micro success. I am on purpose using small puns as we talk about Ant-Man. Because Marvel already knows what they're doing for the next 2 decades. It doesn't matter in the big scope of things. It is a comic book mentality. That book will be out there, that character's in the universe, let's introduce them. People may not discover how cool this character is until 3 movies down the road, and then they'll go back and see how awesome those movies are beforehand. Nobody thought Iron Man was going to do good when it came out, and it did incredibly well as a result. So I think you're going to see similar things. It's a small hero with a big upside and not much of a downside because it's part of something bigger than any one hero, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nick, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I'm not. I can't give much, input on
You're a DC guy. You're a DC guy.
I unfortunately don't follow the Marvel series as closely as I probably should. However, I am a fan of the Iron Man and the Captain America series, though.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Aaron, I know you and I talked about who our favorite Avenger would be if we were an Avenger. So I know you touched up on at least a little bit of the universe. So your thoughts on Ant-Man, and can it become the success that Marvel hopes it is or will be?
I think Rob is right. As long as it is break even, little bit of money, and then they can license the toys, which is where they really make their money. I think it'll be okay, and they'll keep him around for the Avengers and things like that, and then they'll throw him a bone and give him a movie every once in a while. But I mean, I'm not the biggest Marvel fan. I've never been to a theater to see any of them. I always wait till they show up on Epix or something. I just,
I think you've just lost credibility from here on out, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not a movie fan. I see
now we have
every
to wait.
5 years.
We have to wait like 2 years for you to chime in to see if Ant-Man was correct in your opinion.
Hey, I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy like 2 weeks ago.
Or 3 if you watch it on FX.
Yeah, exactly. 3 with commercials. Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
The exact cinematic experience Marvel hopes you enjoy it in.
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean,
let's be honest though. Like, not to dwell on it. If this is the only Ant-Man movie that comes out, that's fine. Marvel has deals with Netflix for other series where that character can appear. Paul Rudd has a hugely busy schedule, so it'd be easy just to throw him in Daredevil or Iron Fist or Luke Cage or some other entity that is on Netflix. Or even if this is just his character introduction, so we don't have to spend 10 minutes in an upcoming Avengers film learning his backstory, then that's fine, because then we can slide him into something else and the audience is aware who he is. He doesn't have to have his own trilogy. A lot of people say that Iron Man didn't need his own trilogy, but it was too profitable to ignore. So if this is the one and only Ant-Man film, so be it. It defied odds that it came to the screen.
Now, I'll ask you this then. Let's say you were running Marvel Studios and you heard the backlash for a little over a month on how Black Widow should have gotten her own movie and, obviously extended her merchandising branch a lot farther than what it is in reality. Do you think there might be a backlash to Ant-Man because people will want to see or hoping to see a Black Widow actually ever come to fruition as far as her own, movie?
Well, who's to say that I'm not running Marvel Studios? Let's start with that. Who's to say I'm not in charge? But like I said, here's what it boils down to. They have a plan of attack. It's not like they decide in January, we're going to release a film this summer, and it's going to be Ant-Man. They have a plan of attack, and Black Widow has always been on the fence. I don't think she's a particularly strong character in any of the films that she's in so far. She's necessary. She could have a great backstory. It could be an awesome standalone adventure. But for a character like that, and I've said it about Spider-Man, if they get to work with Spider-Man, throw her in a Netflix series so we can actually appreciate that character and let her thrive in a 12 to 13 episode run where we can actually care about her instead of over a 2-hour hit or miss. Well, we gave the fans what they want. Let us invest in her so that when she does come to the big screen, we care.
Agent Carter was probably the best thing that Marvel Cinematic Universe has. I would much rather see a weekly show with a much bigger plot than a 2 hours thrown together.
Well, look how cool Daredevil was, right? Like, imagine taking the tone of Daredevil and showing, even if it's a prequel story of Romanoff, like, that would be hardcore, especially with what we hear that she went through in the first Avengers movie to kind of clear her name and get on the good side. Show me that dark version, that dark, not gritty, but just edgy.
But I want to say this as far as her is concerned. She has gotten over, to use the wrestling vernacular, gotten over to a much bigger audience than I believe even Marvel has anticipated. With the female audience that's out there, I mean, I have to use my own girls as the demographic. as far as a small bite-sized version, but also her friends, they all have spoken at length about wanting to be and wanting to get products and wanting to hoping for a movie of Natasha Romanoff. And Josh, you being one of the leading comic book experts that I've ever met, what are your thoughts on expanding her roles? Because you've actually written articles on expanding roles for minorities, for women, and things of that nature within the comic book universe.
I think that with a character like Black Widow, it has to, because I mean, before the Marvel movies came out, nobody went, not a lot of people went to a comic book store saying, "Hey, do you guys have the new Black Widow comic book?" She doesn't really have that exciting of story arc. So I mean, if you were to make like a Netflix show or a movie, it would have to be a lot of new material, and it'd have to be good. It'd have to be handled really well for those people who are asking for that. I think Marvel is as far as like the minorities and gender changes go, I think Marvel's handling it well, because eventually comic books the heroes are going to grow stagnant. You're going to need to revamp them with something, and making the Falcon Captain America or making Thor or Jane Foster, for example, I think it could work if handled well.
It's all about timing.
Spoiler alert.
When do they make
My bad.
moves?
Spoiler, if you haven't watched it on FX, spoiler alert.
Yeah, and I think there's two issues here too, Gerald. I mean, we're talking about, do we need a Black Widow movie, or do we just need more Black Widow products for the existing stuff that's out there? I think
personally, I think you need both. I think both, but I understand.
I think one will lead to the other. If the products sell like everybody is demanding, then it's a no-brainer to do a film. But if you put products out there as part of an Avengers line and they don't sell, well, then that just saves you $200 million on a movie you don't have to make because, well, sorry, you guys didn't buy the products we put out.
But they should have introduced more of her, or had her more part of the merchandising line come, April, May, as the movie was coming out, and there was.
Yeah, they should have, and they have a chance to write that for the next stuff that's coming out, whatever she's a part of. If she plays a key role in Civil War, if she plays a key role in Infinity War, if she's going to be a part of that, then I say roll out more merchandise with those things, but don't greenlight a film just because there's fan backlash. If studios did everything because fans got upset, it would be a horrible world. Everybody would be waiting for FX to see anything.
Well, I was just saying, do you see any type of backlash, levied against Ant-Man for not even,
No. I think Ant-Man, just because he again, almost like a new IP into the universe, he's an easy target. He's a character that's on the fence. People are unsure about it. It's a rocky development for the film. I think he has nothing to do with what's going on with Black Widow, and anybody that wants to use that as an argument to create controversy or to use the box office numbers that'll come out saying Black Widow would have done better is just playing the fanboy game for no reason. There are bigger things happening behind the scenes.
There's a lot of people who do that. A lot of people who aren't actual fans of the comic.
Sure.
Want things
exactly. There's a lot of people with keyboards that can hide behind their keys clocking away saying whatever they want because they have the chance to do it. Doesn't mean they should.
That's like
exactly. You hide, sir. You better hide.
All right.
Gerald being one of the biggest trolls out there.
No, only on you. But we've taken our trip to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and hopefully come July we will actually get a first-hand look and see exactly the results of
4 out of 5 of us. 4 out of 5 of us.
All I know is my girls want to watch it, and I want to watch it. It's something that we're glad to enjoy. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, since Iron Man has really proven to be something that's quite entertaining to a casual audience that they've been able to get a hold of, and I look forward to all the movies upcoming in that universe.
I think to be honest, sorry, one belabored point on the same topic before we switch. I think the more interesting question when it comes to superhero movies this summer is, what does Fantastic Four have to do to be favorable and actually spark a franchise in that long gestating film? That's forever. I know it's not technically part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but we have this film that's been in the works for 4 years. Yeah, Fantastic Four 2. That's one that I think has more pressure on it than Ant-Man.
It's not even released. It already has controversy surrounding it. The changing of the the character's skin color, Johnny Storm and the dad.
To me, that's freaking awesome, though.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares what the
I have
color of
an
their
issue with
skin
the
is
Reed
to
Richards.
me?
I have an issue with the Reed Richards character being so much younger.
That was my
The,
biggest thing when I saw it. I'm like, he's a baby. Reed Richards has always been
But you
this
know why they're
older,
doing that, right?
mature, so that they
They're,
can grow up with him.
they're doing a longevity thing, and there is something interesting, I think, from a writing point of view, to look at the spark of an innocence of youth genius when you are too smart for your own good, and that's exactly what gets these guys into the trouble that they are. He is not a seasoned veteran. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just excited by the potential, and it leads to disaster depending on which way you want to look at things. What I'll take offense with, being my favorite villain, is Doctor Doom is a hacker. There's no Latveria. How do you screw up an iconic villain like Doctor Doom? Make him an iron-plated Skeletor, for Christ's sakes, and then let him rule from Latveria on his throne, and let him just go about world domination like a great villain should.
Well, the movie's supposed to be based more on the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic books. I don't know if you guys read them, but that's kind of how the characters were all like that in that comic book.
Again,
I don't
another
know if
controversial decision.
But that's, and then again, I don't even know if that's going to translate and be relatable to a casual audience, because will it reach the hardcores? It most likely, more than likely will. But the obviously ultimate success of these movies is reaching to a casual audience, not only here in the States, but now more importantly, as I know Rob would know, the international market is much more so. In fact, it is more important in many ways than the domestic one here in the U.S. So obviously being able to have a movie that actually translates to a larger global audience is obviously the key to success.
And it used to be 75-25 domestic matter. Now it's 50-50, if not 75-25 the other way. When you look at stuff like Rio is the one example. Yeah, Box Office Mojo is a great site to look at the domestic versus international take. Films like Rio and even James Bond, when they make their premiere outside of the U.S., all it does is generate hype domestically, and that's what kind of sparks more domestic turn. But getting films out there internationally first is what is starting to matter to studios more and more, especially with China relaxing the rules for what content can happen, which is something that video games are starting to explore as well. We're getting to see new video game stuff in there, and I wonder if at E3 we're going to get any kind of behind-the-scenes news on what's happening with the Chinese market for releases. So, what do you think about E3 preview?
Because a lot of games like Halo Online and things of that nature, Call of Duty Online, those games have been marketed specifically for that targeted audience, and obviously trying to reap the benefits from it. And the international audiences for movies such as Furious 7 or also as well the Avengers now hit the high 60s and even the low 70s as far as the percentage internationally. And a very small amount is actually allocated as far as the revenue from the domestic fashion. So when Nintendo Quest hits $1 billion worldwide, we can expect that most of the money will be coming from the international markets. Is that not correct?
I would hope so. I mean, it is a international theme. It is a story about adventure and a coming-of-age tale with a international brand. Yes, we will see.
Absolutely, and we will be there for not only for the unveiling here in Las Vegas, which we are truly proud and to be honored to be a part of here, but also hopefully the Beijing and hopefully
there you go. The Hong Kong premiere, the Japanese premiere on Nintendo's old headquarters. We will set up a screen and we'll do an outdoor screening of it just for them.
Fair enough, indeed.
But speaking of E3,
yes, last but not least, we are going to cover E3. We're going to hit the last few minutes of our podcast hard on E3. So I will go one by one with your thoughts. First off, gentlemen, and I'm going to start with Nick because he has been silent, unlike him, for quite a while. Mr. Angry Nick, the man in question, the man in detail who takes the mute off his microphone as we speak. If for each one of the major players that are out there, Nintendo, Sony, and also Xbox, what one thing do you hope to see announced at E3?
I mean, in terms of new games or games that have been previously announced, but hope that there will be more.
I'll throw that out to you again like a fastball. What one thing from each console maker do you want to see at E3? Just one thing, just one.
I mean, I honestly, I'd like to. I know for Nintendo, I would love to see some new production details on or development details on Zelda, new Zelda.
And hopefully that won't be, and hopefully that production won't be a screen that says 2018. So
yeah. I hopefully not. I know that I am pretty psyched for The Division. I know that that's probably going to be available on multi-platform. So, and I would say, Fallout 4.
Well, and what about Fallout 4? Because you'll most likely see quite a bit of it at the Bethesda conference.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in terms, and again, I know there's a lot of stuff that's coming out. I know fourth quarter this year that's obviously going to be good. I know The Division is a 2016 release. I was just, in terms of games, I don't know that if I have really any console specific. Those are just a couple games that I have high hopes to see more details on, especially The Division. Zelda is an obvious one since I'm an avid Zelda fan. And then definitely after even watching some of the cinematics for Fallout 4, I'm hoping that Bethesda, at least in their press conference or at least in some of the initial press conference details, I'm hoping to see a lot more content related to that, other than some of the gameplay trailer. But I mean, those are just kind of a couple titles I'm hoping to see interest in. So I know that kind of sort of answers your question. So hopefully that.
Fair enough. No worries. That's a good start. And on that note, Josh, what are you hoping to see from D3? If one thing gets announced at each conference, what is that one thing from those console maker conferences that you would like to see?
Oh, jeez. I would like to see Borderlands 3. That would make my year. And I've been waiting for years, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but I hope to see an Alan Wake sequel eventually. As far as Nintendo goes, I don't really play a lot of Nintendo. I'd like to see something that would make me want to play the Wii U, maybe. And I know Uncharted 4 has already got me wanting to get a PlayStation 4, so probably Borderlands and Alan Wake, if possible.
I would probably say, with the issues with Remedy going back and forth and leadership changes, but I know that's been on their plate as far as is concerned. I know there was, it did sell well on the 360, but there were some tenuous situations in regard to the planning stages of a sequel for Alan Wake. But I would suspect that you may be seeing it hopefully here at E3, but I think it might be a little too soon. But I definitely am in agreement with you. And seeing Nick flail away with his flashlight the first time he went through Alan Wake was, I know, something I will never forget in my lifetime. Aaron, as far as you're concerned, what would you like to see? Yeah, well, yeah. What would you like to see as far as is concerned from all three of the beloved?
Legend of Dragoon prequel from Sony, or The Last Guardian. But I mean, let's not talk.
You took mine.
I'm really not. There's been nothing that was Xbox exclusive that has ever really made me want any announcements for it. So maybe just some sort of new IP that gets me interested in the Xbox. Because everything on it that I'm into is either on the corresponding PlayStation console or PC, and almost always better on the other one. And the Nintendo, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles X is already out in Japan, so it's kind of hard to want anything from that, because in general we know what the game is going to be. So
and that
probably
game looks gorgeous, by the way. I will give it that.
Absolutely.
That game looks absolutely gorgeous.
Probably just more information on Bravely Default 2, Fire Emblem If, and Shin Megami Tensei versus Fire Emblem.
Fair enough.
I'm one of those people. I don't like to look forward to games announcements. At least I like to be there and be surprised and not get that. Oh my God, they didn't show XYZ. This was a waste of my time. I try to be completely chill about it until it shows up, and then just be surprised by whatever they show me. And whatever they show me is going to be awesome at all the conferences, all 640 of them that they're having this year. And I try not to have expectations going into them because they've already said, like, Nintendo is not showing the NX. So I'm already looking forward to next year more than this year.
Well, which is a good thing, but then again, it leads me back to my point about even announcing the NX or letting the NX, word of the NX escape in the first place. But Rob, I leave it up to you as far as to clean up and hit one out of the park.
Sure. I think for Nintendo, quite simply, it's time for a Metroid game. I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan of this series, but I would definitely love to explore what they want to come up with since it's been so long since we've had a Metroid entry. I think that's a no-brainer. I also just want to see more details.
On the tablet, that would be sick.
Sure, yeah. I want to see more details on Mario Maker, and we know that's around the corner, so I just want to know a little bit more about the design capabilities. But seeing a new Metroid game get announced, that's my wish list for Nintendo. PlayStation 4, someone please announce a port of XCOM 2. I know they've come out and said that it'll be PC exclusive for the time being because they want to be able to do random generating maps and really cater to the modding crowd, but they haven't ruled out a current gen translation at some point. So please give me XCOM 2. It's my favorite game of 2013. I've been a huge XCOM fan my entire life. I need this to live. It is probably the only reason I will set up a Steam account when it does drop later this year, I believe. As far as Xbox, I have to, be on the same accord as other people. Give me a reason to buy the system. Give me something that is so interesting and so exclusive to Xbox One that I have to put the money down and make time to play it. And those are two resources that I need answered. Give me a reason to set aside other gaming needs that I have and give me a reason to spend that kind of money on something new, something groundbreaking, and that's what I want to see at this E3. Blow me away now that we're in stride.
Call of Duty exclusive, whatever, isn't going to cut it for me to make me go buy that system. It's got to be something
bigger than Titanfall. It's got to be bigger than Titanfall.
Yeah.
It's got to be noteworthy. Like, get people excited.
Titanfall 2 is going to come out multi-platform. I know that for sure. And when it comes to
after how bad it did on the Xbox, it has to.
Yeah, and Xbox, as far as XCOM is concerned, XCOM 2, the original XCOM, when it came out, it sold exceedingly well on the PC, but when it translated over finally to consoles, I know that they were not satisfied. 2K was with the numbers on consoles, which obviously is part of the reason why they're not initially announced.
But that said, they released two versions of it, so it did well enough for essentially a Game of the Year edition when they re-released it with all the DLC as Enemy Within. They didn't just stick with the download-only version of that stuff. So there was enough sales to justify a second XCOM physical disc.
All I will say is that at retail alone, as far as for PC is concerned, they sold close to 3 million copies, which is outstanding for a PC.
Comparing the numbers, yeah, for sure. Comparing the numbers. But let's not forget some of those units that you're mentioning there, 3 million units, some of those are discounted to $4 on Steam sales and humble bundles.
And I give you that, because a lot of people certain people I know buy games, a lot primarily at the Steam Summer Sale. No, it all depends on the game.
No, it's great. I mean, why wouldn't you buy a great game like XCOM for $4? I wish PlayStation would do more of their flash sales that you could do stuff like that. And I'm sure on the console side, the units sold there don't mention the PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold versions where those games were free for people with those accounts either. So.
Well, and like I said, but XCOM 2 coming to consoles definitely would be, for a lot of gamers, myself included, would be something definitely to look forward to, indeed.
If Xbox One announced XCOM 2 exclusives, I would drop money instantly. I would pre-order this second.
There you go. There you go, Microsoft. You now know what you need to do. For me, I know it's hinted at earlier, but I think if Sony really wants to give a middle finger to everybody, to finally have a release date for The Last Guardian, I think would be the ultimate to see, we told you we're finally going to bring it out. Would it be a finished product everybody would love? No, I don't think it's going to ever meet the expectations that, 9,000 years of wait is going to.
I just want to see the picture of it on a disc. I don't actually care to play it anymore.
I feel like
exactly.
it's become the Chinese democracy of gaming. Remember that follow-up album for Guns N' Roses that was like forever in development, and then it hit and was like, well, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to see the next iteration in the Mass Effect universe. Hopefully, in detail with some footage. That would be awesome to see in about 2 weeks. To get excited for that because I think the Mass Effect universe is prime and ready to go. I think a lot
Or
of
that
people would be
Origin and Uplay are shutting down and just folding into Steam because they're terrible, and as bad as Steam is, they're even worse.
There you go. GOG is cool though, but if anybody gets a chance, GOG is really a nice supplement to Steam as well.
Yeah,
But doing
GOG is awesome, and they support a lot of films too based on video game content, and it's all DRM free.
Yes. So good plug for GOG.com. Give it a chance and check it out if you can. And then last but not least, I too want a specific reason to get a Wii U. There's a lot of good things that have put me on the fence, but I need that one little thing. I don't even know what it is myself per se, but I need that one game itself to actually tip me over and to fork me over for Wii U. Because
Gerald, just do it. I am telling you, Mario 3D World is an excellent game. That should have got you to buy it. Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Splatoon, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze,
Pikmin, Wonderful 101, Xenoblade Chronicles,
N64 Virtual Console, possibly GameCube Virtual Console being
NES
announced.
Remix 2. Oh my gosh. There are more games on the Wii U that have sold 1 million copies than the other two systems combined.
Close this window, go on Best Buy or your favorite retailer, book it now, go pick it up before they close tonight, do yourself a favor, welcome to the next level.
Best Buy
But I think they also have to announce a price cut. I do think they have to announce a price cut.
Hogwash! It's great for the value that it is. It's already the cheapest current gen console. It's HD graphics. I'm telling you, it is an awesome
more exclusive games,
system.
Free online play, backwards compatibility.
How much
everything people bitch about.
Storage. You have to buy storage for it.
If you don't have
need to buy storage
laying around, you have issues anyway.
You'll be
I'm
fine.
just talking as the average consumer that doesn't have a 3
You're
terabyte
not
drive.
the average consumer. You are game.
You can't even act as the average consumer.
It's a write-off for you. Get the console. It's a write-off.
All right, fair enough. And on that note, before I go out and get a Wii U,
get the Splatoon edition. Come on.
Well, I'm sure it'll come as far as be available in all markets. As far as it's concerned. The Splatoon has been a great hit, and like I said, it makes a lot of people on the fence, like myself, want to go ahead.
I would actually like to. I would like to see you wait to see if they do a Mario Maker edition, because I mean, usually all their big titles they do a different bundle. And who knows what that would look like, right? That would
put me over the fence. Plus, that they bundled with Mario Kart and Super Smash, like they should have done last year, and done a Super Smash bundle last year. That would really be a nice cherry on top. But well, it looks like it's about the end of our podcast, everyone. The arguments have subsided, and we've managed to come out of it somewhat unscathed. I want to thank everybody that's been part of the podcast, Aaron, Josh, Nick, and of course Rob as well. For being a part of this podcast. I know before we go, we got some plugs to make. So I'll start off with Josh, because I know Josh. I wanted to get your permission, but I know you've got a special project that you just got finished outside of all the articles that you do for the site. If you wanted to share that real quick with us.
Yes, I wrote a book. It's called Vendetta Dark. It's available now on Barnes
Do I
and
get a
Noble.
review copy of the book?
Yeah, sure. It is my attempt to write a novel, kind of like a comic book, I guess. So it's got a superhero element and a mystery element, but yeah, you can pick it up on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think a few other outlets should have it by the end of the week.
Absolutely, and hopefully, like I said, you and I can sit down on a future podcast at your convenient day and time that we can discuss in detail about the book and your hopes for it, and also as well outline as far as how you plan as far as more ways for people to get their hands on the book as well. So, I want to make sure that everybody out there gets a chance to know about that.
Yeah.
Aaron, what you got cooking up as far as this concerned? You said you got 15,000 reviews that you have to finish.
Yeah, I've got Kemco's latest game, Ophidia Genesis 2 for the iPad, Adventures of Pip for PC, and we are looking at getting a Wii U copy. Oh, shoot. Lord of Magna, Made in Heaven for the 3DS. And then I'm still trying to get with a couple other people to finish up the Heroes of the Storm article. Yeah, I think that's it. And then I also have, oh shoot, what did he just, Earthman Jack, the second book. He just sent me confirmation that we're getting a review copy at Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con.
Absolutely, that's awesome to hear because I know your interviews with Matthew from last year about his book. I know he's had a lot of great publicity from the book series as well, and seeing how it's transpired over the year. Like Rob with all of his projects is obviously going to be a very fascinating conversation indeed. Nick, I know you got a couple of projects that you've just finished, which will be presented this week. Tell us everybody can look forward to this week.
Well, we had the pleasure of from Bishop Games to get a first look at Lightfall.
Yes, Lightfall.
Yeah.
Yes, Lightfall.
I want to make sure I transpose that. I think that was a game that I was actually combing through our PR emails and had the opportunity to be able to play that. I was actually really excited at the end of the first level. I was like kind of bummed that we didn't get to play a little bit more, provided I know it was a Kickstarter project. So I actually think their funding it should have been funded as yesterday, I believe. So I'm definitely looking forward to a lot of great things going forward with that game. So I wrote kind of a synopsis of what our first impressions were going to be for that. And though it was a little bit late since its release, I think was officially October of last year, if I recall correctly. But the Adventure Time game for the PlayStation Vita. I think what appealed to me most when I got to take a glance at that from E3 was it possessed a lot of elements from the Legend of Zelda, and that really appealed to me. So that was actually one of the few Vita games that I think was actually kind of worth picking up. So I had written up a pretty good synopsis, a review that we'll be posting on that as well. So. Outside of that, I don't know that I really have any future projects as of in the immediate moment, but that's kind of what we have coming forward this week.
Well, I know a lot of your emphasis will be on trying to get all the stuff taken care of for Chris on his many interviews we hope that he will conduct if he's there on time, if he doesn't manage to get lost in the convention center with all the interviews that we're going to try that you and Aaron are going to line up for him this week, hopefully, because he's confirmed for the two major conferences, Sony and Xbox, and we're looking for a lot of great things from him coming a couple weeks from now, correct?
Yeah, I think we've got 6 interviews that we are trying to work on right now.
Okay, fair enough, and I know more to come for him, so let's just overload him until he dies right there on the one of the halls. So that's awesome. That would be awesome. And last but not least, Rob, what you got cooking up? I know your schedule's a little light these days,
Yeah, there's not too much going on at all. You mentioned some of my other projects earlier. Of course, I showed a rough cut screening of Missing Mom last night, which is the first time that got out there, which is cool. And I'm going to shoot with Kitty, again, for another week and a bit in Canada, which will actually, once I'm wrapped up there, lead me back to Las Vegas and LA with Jay in tow to begin the screenings, the theatrical screenings of Nintendo Quest. And if anybody still wants to grab a ticket to those theatrical, kind of once-in-a-lifetime experiences with Jay and I, and cameras rolling, and everybody seeing it for the first or relatively first time, go to NintendoQuest.com, secure your ticket. It's only like $10 at most of the screenings. It's going to be a lot of fun. You want to be part of this all-gamer audience, but even if you're not a gamer, Nintendo Quest has a lot to offer you. It's literally the journey of a lifetime, and you need to see it.
And we at GameSource want to thank you personally and everyone at Retro City Games for allowing us to be a part of it as well. Not only are we doing a live podcast, which if you are there on site, you're more than welcome to jump on in and be a part of as well. And not only that, you're allowing us to stay on and watch the movie and not kicking us out beforehand. And although maybe Angry Nick you might, but after that, I have the distinct pleasure of being hosting the Q&A, and which I'm truly humbled and truly glad to be a part of, and hopefully will not embarrass GameSource to the point of closure the next day. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But Aaron, at this point in the time, Aaron will say something smart to totally put egg on my face. Aaron? No?
No,
you do that well enough on your own.
Okay, fair enough. And
the
for
yoke's
me,
on you.
Exactly. So it's been a great a pleasure to talk to everyone here for the past 2 hours. It's flown right by. I know for me on YourGameSource.com, I will be doing a review of the Antec X1 Xbox One cooler, which I know that they were so kind to send to us. And I'll be giving my thoughts on that. Plus, I will be doing a major written E3 preview before the end of the week, so you do want to check that out. I usually do
How
it
do
every
you have
year.
an Xbox One and not a Wii U? Get out of here.
They said, hey, they sent it to me. They said, do you want one? They advertised it. They said, can you review it? We said, sure. It's in here, and it's got a little bit differences than your dad's old, or should I say, our old coolers that we attached onto the PS3 or 360s. Is it even needed? I'm going to discuss those issues once the review comes out on that. But yes, a major E3 preview as well. So look forward to that this week on YourGameSource.com. Once again, this is GameSource Podcast 121. If you have any questions, please check us out, YourGameSource.com. Send us a tweet or follow us on Twitter at GameSource. If you like what you see, we've got over 400 videos on our GameSource YouTube page. You check us out there. Like us on our Facebook page, GameSource, where either there or through our Twitter, we are the #1 aggregate site for video game news and information. We have posted nearly 40,000 stories in our 6 years combined. And you actually, when it comes to E3, especially those first couple of days, you will see over 100 different stories all over the internet about the latest and greatest in gaming news right there. You will just be able to scroll right through it, and you'll get it all right there from all the leading web sources, and also our thoughts. I know Chris will have his thoughts live from the show floor, and also we will put in our 2 cents worth as we go along, as the conferences are going as well. So we look forward to that. We do it every year, and we're so blessed to do it and be a part of it as well. And when you get a chance, the NES Club, you've got to like their page on Facebook. That gets you all the latest information. NintendoQuest.com, and also as well Vendetta Dark on Amazon. There's a lot of great things. If you truly like what we do, we truly appreciate all your support. And even if you are so helpful with all of our production costs, our Twitch page has the idea and has also the information on how you can give us a hand as well. And once again, thanks again for everyone for joining us. This is Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives, for Rob McCallum, director of Nintendo Quest, the Kitty
Thanks so much
documentary.
for having me.
Yes, the Kitty documentary and Missing Mom, which one that one is true to my heart as well. That one's a tearjerker even when I see the trailer. Angry Nick.
I will let you know just before I let you sign off that people said last night that the film was much better and played out in way different way than they thought than the trailer portrays. So they were kind of blown away by that.
Was there a lot of Kleenex passed around?
It wasn't quite that audience, but people were there was a weird silence like after it was done. It was just like, wow.
That's when you've captured an audience. You're truly to be commended for that. Congratulations on that, and we look forward to Missing Mom, and also as well the Katie documentary, and of course the upcoming Nintendo Quest as well. For Angry Nick, for Josh Peterson, and for OSU Water Polo, Mr. Aaron himself. Once again, we appreciate you joining us, being a part of the podcast, and thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.
Do you love games, breathe games, and bleed games? Then this is the crew for you. If you are interested in editorial, podcasting, live events, and exclusive content, make sure to hit us up at info@yourgamesource.com and become part of a team that is dedicated to delivering all the greatest and latest in gaming news and content, all here at yourgamesource.com.